Tonight, we now know the identity of the victim and suspect in that shooting that took place this weekend. Just before noon on Saturday, Coppers Cove police found 31-year-old Shazmeen Tashawn Clack, who had been shot at a home off Anderson Avenue and Tanner Drive.
A single muffled sound. That's all it takes. One sharp, sudden noise to violently tear apart the fabric of an ordinary Saturday morning. In an instant, the gentle hum of daily life in a quiet neighborhood transforms into a prelude of terror. What if the very place you consider safest, your home, becomes the most dangerous? What if the promise of a new day ends not with hope, but with an irreversible, devastating finality? This isn't just about a crime. It's about the shattering of a life, the silencing of a voice that mattered. It's about 5 young children suddenly facing a world without their mother, Shazmeen Tashawn Clack. In Coppers Cove, Texas, at precisely 11:48 a.m. on February 1st, 2025, a call pierced the calm. A gunshot victim. But this wasn't a random act. This was something far more personal, far more horrifying. We're going to pull back the curtain on the final moments of Shazmeen's life. We'll explore the immediate aftermath, the frantic struggle against time, and the desperate attempts to save her. This story isn't just about what happened. It's about the deep-seated forces that led to this tragedy. How did a mother, loved by so many, become another statistic in a relentless cycle? This is the core question we must answer. If you want to understand the true footprint of crime and the untold stories behind the headlines, press that like button and subscribe to and drop a comment below. Your engagement helps us share these crucial lessons. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. Before she was a victim, Shazmeen Tashawn Clack was a mother. A force of nature whose entire world revolved around her 5 children. To her sister, Chantel, she was the person who would give the shirt off her back. To her kids, she was a source of unconditional love and a constant presence. That's the person at the center of this story, not a statistic, but a woman whose life was built on a foundation of family and kindness. We need to remember that. It's the only way to truly understand what was taken. It was a typical Saturday morning in Coppers Cove. The kind of day where the biggest decisions were what to have for breakfast or what errands needed running. The mundane rhythm of life continued. Perhaps the kids were playing, their laughter filling the house. Maybe Shazmeen was making plans for the day, or just enjoying a moment of peace. We don't know the specifics, but we can picture the calm before the storm. The quiet of that morning made what came next even more jarring. The sudden eruption of violence in a place where it should never have existed. At 11:48 a.m., the Coppers Cove Police Department received an urgent call, a report of a gunshot victim. The voice on the other end, strained and frantic, delivered the grim news. Patrol cars raced to the scene on the 900 block of Tanner Drive. They arrived to find a scene of chaos. Shazmeen was there, critically wounded, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Officers, acting on pure instinct, immediately began life-saving measures. A moment of hope. But the injuries were severe. Paramedics rushed her to Advent Health Central Texas Hospital in nearby Killeen, fighting to keep her alive during the frantic journey. The emergency room became the final battleground. Doctors and nurses fought tirelessly, pushing against the overwhelming damage. For a few brief moments, a silent prayer hung in the air that she would make it, that she would somehow defy the odds and survive for her children. But life-saving measures, no matter how desperate, are sometimes not enough. Shazmeen Tashawn Clack was pronounced dead while receiving medical treatment. Her fight was over. The media release from the Coppers Cove Police Department confirmed her passing. They offered their condolences, but condolences feel empty in the face of such a profound loss. What led to this moment? to this family's unimaginable pain? The answer, as police would soon discover, was closer than anyone could have imagined. When a life is cut short, the headlines often flatten the person into a single dimension, the victim. But Shazmin's story is much richer, much more complex. To truly understand the gravity of her loss, you have to know the woman she was. Her older sister, Chantel, gave us a glimpse, describing her as incredibly kind and giving. Someone who, without a second thought, would literally give you the shirt off her back. Her world revolved around her 5 children. The kids, Chantel explained, that's what mattered. She loved her kids. It was all about her kids. She was a mother first and foremost, and that devotion was the central point of her life. Shazmin's kindness and generosity weren't just for others. They were a reflection of a personal resilience forged through her own struggles. We discovered a separate GoFundMe campaign she created before her death. The goal? To raise money for a medical procedure to remove silicone butt injections she'd received years earlier. The procedure was necessary because the silicone was causing serious health problems. Shazmin was actively working to fix a past decision, to overcome a personal hurdle for the sake of her health and her family's future. What does it say about a person who, despite their own private battles, remains so focused on the well-being of others? Shazmin's life was a study in contrasts. A deep generosity set against personal struggles, a loving devotion to her children set against a history of self-correction. But her journey, a path of trying to build a better life for herself and her kids, was violently interrupted. It forces us to ask another, more painful question. How could someone so dedicated to life have it taken away in such a brutal manner? The answer to that question would not be found in her past struggles, but in the violent reality she was living right up until her final moments. As police investigated, the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, creating a clear picture that would redefine the narrative. The suspect wasn't a stranger. He was a man known to Shazmin, and his identity was a painful confirmation of a family's fears. The person officers would arrest was Alonzo Ezekiel Hunter, a 27-year-old from Beaumont, Texas. And the bond between victim and suspect was even more complex. He was the father of Shazmin's youngest child. The violence wasn't random, it was personal. This wasn't Hunter's first brush with the law. We found out that at the time of the murder, he was already out on a $15,000 bond for an assault charge that happened in September 2024. This detail is a crucial red flag. But a closer look at the court records reveals something even more significant than the charge itself. The offense was listed as assault intentionally/recklessly impairing breath/circulation of a family member. In plain terms, this is often a strangulation charge. It's not just a physical fight. It's a terrifying act of control and dominance. A very specific and very violent warning. The legal description of that prior charge adds chilling weight to what Shazmin's sister, Chantel, said. She called the murder a case of domestic violence. The court document, with its cold, legal phrasing, validates her heartfelt statement. This isn't just a single, isolated act of violence. It appears to be a tragic endpoint of an escalating pattern of violence against a family member. It makes you wonder, how many warning signs were missed? When is a system designed to protect people from harm actually failing them? Hunter's prior charge points to a horrifying and specific history. The fact that a man with a prior strangulation charge against a family member was free and able to commit murder raises a difficult question. Could Shazmin's death have been prevented? The tragic culmination of this story wasn't inevitable. It was the result of a system, a pattern, and a series of choices. And the question of whether that system worked as it should have is one we're forced to confront. The clock was ticking. A mere mere 2 hours after that initial 911 call, police had moved with decisive speed. Witnesses on Tanner Drive had given them a name and a description. They acted on that information without hesitation. The trail led them to a nearby hotel, the Comfort Suites in Coppers Cove. There, officers found their suspect, Alonzo Ezekiel Hunter, and took him into custody without a struggle.
And a Beaumont man sits in jail tonight charged with the killing of a woman in Coppers Cove near Waco. Investigators found 31-year-old Shazmin Clack with multiple gunshot wounds at a home on Tanner Drive. She died at a hospital. 27-year-old Alonzo Hunter of Beaumont was arrested at a nearby hotel. Not long after this shooting, a judge set Hunter's bond at $500,000.
The operation was swift and efficient. A medical emergency had quickly become a homicide investigation, and a suspect was apprehended before the town could even process the full weight of the tragedy. The legal process for Hunter began almost immediately. He was formally charged with murder. During his arraignment, a judge set his bond at a significant $500,000, a clear reflection of the seriousness of the crime. This was not the only legal issue he faced. Court records show he was scheduled to appear for a pretrial hearing just 2 days later for the previous assault charge, creating a stark timeline of his escalating behavior. While the legal system began its slow turn, the community of Coppers Cove reacted in the only way it knew how, with compassion and solidarity. Shazmin's family started a GoFundMe to help with funeral and memorial costs. And in a collective act of mourning, a balloon release was planned. People were asked to bring pink balloons and candles, a symbol of a life taken too soon, a final goodbye in a place now forever marked by her absence. This is where Shazmin's story becomes a lesson for all of us. Her death, which her family describes as the end result of domestic violence, is a stark reminder that violence often hides in plain sight. If you are in a situation where you feel unsafe, or if a relationship is causing you fear, please remember that your life matters. There are resources available to help you. You can reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Don't wait for things to get worse. This story isn't over. The investigation is ongoing, and a verdict has not been reached. For her 5 children and for her family, justice is still something they are waiting for. The truth of what happened on February 1st, 2025, is now a matter for the courts to decide, but the human cost is already a painful reality. How a loving mother's life ended in such violence, and what that means for a justice system that could not protect her, is a question that will remain long after this case is resolved. The murder of Shazmin Tashawn Clack is a tragedy that is both deeply personal and universally resonant. It's a reminder that crime is never just a cold case file or a series of dates on a calendar. It's a life lost, a family broken, and a community left to mourn. The finality of Shazmin's death stands in stark contrast to the slow, deliberate pace of justice. The legal proceedings may unfold over months or even years, but for her 5 children, the loss is immediate and permanent. Her story is a powerful argument that we must pay attention to the warning signs of violence, and that the promise of safety must be more than just an idea. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe the justice system has enough safeguards in place to protect individuals from escalating domestic violence? Share your perspective in the comments below. Your input is vital to this discussion. If this story has stayed with you, and if you believe stories like Shazmin's deserve to be told, please hit the like button. It helps this video reach a wider audience and ensures her memory and the lessons from her life continue to be shared. And if you want to understand more than just the headlines, if you want to know about the people and the lessons behind these true crime stories, subscribe to True Crime Footprint. We are here to uncover the truth and ensure that the lives of those who were lost are never forgotten. Our hearts ache for Shazmin's family. Words feel inadequate, but please know you are held in deepest sympathy and prayers. May you find strength and comfort in the memories of Shazmin. Thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.